right, everybody, welcome back into Cherry Picking. Today's video, Fantasy Hockey Mailbag for Week 15 of the season. Getting closer and closer to the playoffs. As always, video presented by FanDuel Canada, North America's #1 sportsbook. That link is in the description below to download the app today. We've got 5 questions to go through the mailbag. Again, always appreciate the comments on the Fantasy Hockey Mailbag videos that I do. Always obviously makes it easier for the next one that I do. So have a couple questions in this one. Not as I would say there were a lot of good questions last week. I wouldn't say there's bad questions, but a little bit different this week. There's some statements that I kind of just took and went with it. People asking about players and how they've been playing. So 5 questions to get through. Let's get into it. All right, the first question or statement that we have here is from Kyle Scott. Jacob Dobes has been lights out so far, and you're absolutely right. So let's look at his stats and kind of see what kind of relevancy he has in fantasy hockey. So he's 3-0 to start his NHL career with a 0.97 goals against average, so sub 1, and a 959 save percentage. 1 shutout was in his debut, I believe, against the Florida Panthers. Through 3 starts as well, 3.84 goals saved above expected, so closer to 4, really, if you could say that. So above 1 per game is very good. It's like what the best goalies do on a yearly basis. Hellebuck, like Jeremy Swayman over the last month or so has been in that same kind of category. We'll talk about him in this video as well. The Habs have been playing better defensively, to their credit, and they've played some really good teams over the stretch of since Dobes has been in the NHL and the games that he's played in as well. Like the 3 teams he's played is Washington, Colorado, and Florida. Those are 3 of the top 5-6 teams in the NHL this year. So the Habs, since December 28th, which was Dobes' debut, are 13th in expected goals for per game. And they've, like as I mentioned, played some really good teams. And they're 3rd when it comes to actual goals against per game. So they're playing solid defensively, and then they're getting even better goaltending on top of that. Now, in terms of fantasy hockey, he's only had 3 starts in pretty much, well, not a month, but about 3 weeks, closer to 3 weeks at this point. He's a good streamer when he plays. It seems at this point very random when he plays. Like obviously Montembeault is still like the main starter at this point. And it's going to be hard to really peg when he's going to get these starts. He's 17% rostered right now in Yahoo Fantasy Hockey League. So if you're in really deep leagues, then yes, you could keep him, like stash him maybe if you guys have deep benches. Because from what I've heard from Canadians, reporters, and everyone like within the organization has said like this kid is the real deal. He played at Ohio State. He had solid numbers in the AHL as well. So I think it's worth, especially in dynasty leagues, kind of stashing this guy because Montembeault is the problem solver for the Canadians' goaltending issues right now. But in the future, it could be Dobes and, maybe Jacob Fowler. That'd be a pretty good tandem. All right, another question here from Cam Cote. This time, a goalie question. 4 points for a win, -0.5 for a loss, 4 more points for a shutout. I'm a sucker for buy low and have picked up Saros, Swayman, and Sorokin plus Wall. I'm wanting to shed one in a trade and wondering how do you order them. All very talented, but who of the Bruins, Islanders, or Predators actually figures it out and helps their guy gets wins? So, Swayman talked a lot about him in the offseason or in the preseason. Didn't have a good start to the year. Really started playing well when Jim Montgomery got fired. Don't know if that necessarily has anything to do with it in terms of what their relationship was. But over the last month, 10.6 goals saved above expected in 11 starts. So almost 1 per game, as I kind of mentioned that magic number when I was talking about Dobes. He's 5-5-1 over that span. I think the whole thing with the media, with like Marchand and Pasta, has kind of and might reinvigorate this team. They had a huge win against the Panthers after that all happened, and then obviously just kicked the shit out of the Lightning as well. So they're playing a little bit better. So I would keep Swayman for sure. You can't drop Jeremy Swayman in fantasy hockey. He's way too good of a goalie, and he was one of the big reasons why they won the other night in Tampa Bay as well. Saros has been trending down for sure. Hasn't had the best month or so like Swayman has. -5 goals saved above expected over his last 8 starts. 3-4-1 over that span. 882 save percentage and a 291 goals against. Not great numbers by any means. However, if you're looking at remaining NHL schedules, the main website I look at will be Tankathon because they kind of update it very regularly. The Preds have the easiest remaining schedule in the NHL. Now, I can't confidently say that they can make the playoffs at this point because I want to say they're 13 points out of a wild card spot in the West, and there's some teams in the West that are starting to play really well. But they're kind of in this like nothing to lose territory, so I wouldn't get rid of Saros, especially considering how easy his schedule is at this point. I would keep Jussi Saros for sure. I think the one guy I would cut would have to be Ilya Sorokin. You know, he obviously got a little bit banged up from the time of the holidays to now. In terms of number of starts as well, I think is something that you kind of have to value and look into here. Like, Marcus Hogberg has been playing unbelievable since he's really gotten his number called upon with the big club in the Islanders. Varlamov started practicing this week, so he'll be back soon. So unless Sorokin goes like absolutely off, like we've seen him do in the past, like I want to say 2 years ago, I don't think that's going to happen. Then maybe that would be one reason to keep him, but that's way too much speculation at this point. Like before the break, they were leaning heavily on Sorokin. I want to say he made 12 straight starts, which is like something you'd never really see in today's NHL unless you're like Saros or Connor Hellebuck. And Sorokin was in that category. He's getting a little bit older. I think he's past his prime at this point. So I would cut Sorokin. And then you talked about Joseph Woll. Joseph Woll is going to be super valuable because the Leafs are going to win a bunch of games until obviously Stolarz comes back. Then it'll probably be a 50-50 split. But I think Sorokin is the guy, unfortunately, you have to get rid of here. All right, we have a trade question. Mostly points-based Cats League. I just got offered Gensel, Hischier, and Theodore for Brock Nelson, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Kirill Kaprizov. Thoughts? So let's look at these guys' numbers over the last month. So Gensel, 11 points, 4 goals, 7 assists, a 14% shooting percentage on like 30 shots. Very high shooting talent. So I think, and he's playing with Nikita Kucherov, who's also having, again, just an unbelievable year. I think Nikita Kucherov is just unbelievable. Obviously, it's the same kind of opinion across the league, but I don't think he really gets the recognition for it as much anymore for whatever reason. And then you have Nico Hischier, 9 points, 4 goals, 5 assists on 37 shots over this last month.